Like, imagine if the whole time Ye had clones.
I just told you who I thought I was.
No,
You'd be like-
I refuse. Special coming out on HBO.
Yeah.
You put out essentially a special a week right now. I mean, on YouTube. So what separates Symphony from what you're already doing?
I think that the weeklies are much more like topical, much more try to meet a moment and everything. And to me, like a proper special like what I'm doing with HBO needs to be a bit more timeless. The hope is that 30 years from now, someone will watch it and it'll hold as much value for them as it did for the people that I was performing it for, because by having a sort of difference in what's topical and what's evergreen, you still like share your perspective, but then that perspective is spread out over things that will never change, like family or your thoughts on religion and maybe your thoughts on politics, but not like a particular politician. I remember I was listening to some old like Bob Hope stuff, and he had these bits that were killing.
It wasn't only the Senate, the entire Congress voted against it. When President Nixon heard the news, he said, "A Proxmire on both your houses." Senator Proxmire of Wisconsin went way out on a limb to defeat the project, and his opponents started a cheese boycott.
But because he was saying the senator's name, I like didn't know who it was. So like he's killing with these people, and I'm like, I'm sure he's even right. Whatever he's saying, I'm like, it must be killing for a reason. But it's like I have no grasp on like who the House rep at that time was. So it's like this isn't hitting for me. Whereas I think if you look at someone like Carlin, who's talking about like systems.
Best thing about this war, it's on every channel. And every channel has a slightly different war. Do you notice that? If you don't like the way it's going on Channel 2, try Channel 9. Maybe your side is winning over there.
Those systems are not like hopelessly always intact, but like unfortunately pretty consistent. And so I think if you speak to systems, you speak to a bigger thing that even if the exact party by name isn't in power and the like exact mode of maintaining power isn't like what's being used, I think those intentions are eternal, you know?
Yeah, if the foundation of the joke or of the bit is set in something that is more universal, the details, which are where the jokes lie, like they can, even if they're listening to it 5-10 years from now, they can still mark, they can still get the point, as long as if the foundation of the joke that they are listening to is based in some kind of a universal reality.
Yeah, like outside of human extinction, people will always have a brother.
Yeah.
And that brother might be dumb. And so then a story about like my dumb brother, if I had a brother, might resonate with someone who either has a brother or has a family member that does the things that my brother did, you know? And so those things are what I think hold on to for much longer. And I don't control what happens with something once I share it. That's when you have to like let go of all of your attachment to outcomes. But that's the hope, is that the specials that I make that are the thing that I set apart in any sort of way will have like a sort of timeless quality to them, that the things that when I'm working on week to week, I also would love for people to watch that back years from now, but I can't act surprised if a decade from now people aren't speaking about or thinking about Luigi Mangione in the same way, you know? Like that.
Yeah, you can't control that.
Yeah.
I just found out right before you got here that you filmed Symphony, and then you got on a plane, and you started writing the Afro Man Trial Explained on a Saturday. And then Sunday night, you went up and you did that set. And then, after you did that, on Tuesday, you were hosting The Daily Show.
Yeah.
That's a wild 4 days. And that doesn't sound, and it sounds like that's not abnormal for you.
No, but like, I don't know, if you don't do anything else, you kind of open yourself up to the opportunity to like hyper focus on one thing until it's done, and then you hyper focus on the next thing.
Well, sure. The amount of great material that you put on YouTube is crazy for someone who doesn't have a 9-to-5 job, and a demanding one at that, where you have to put up 4 live TV shows a week, and on top of that, you're like, you're also touring, so you're selling out huge venues. I mean, it's like the amount of stuff that you are doing is crazy for 3 people, you know? Like how many clones are there of you? Because that's the only way that I can explain how that works.
I feel like a clone would present more problems. You know what I mean? Because then a clone would be like saying something, and you're like, wait, no, that's not what I. But
It's someone you have to manage.
Yeah. Like imagine if the whole time Ye had clones.
No,
you'd be like,
I refuse.
You'd be like, oh, so which one was all of them or just 2? What? How many clones? You know what I mean? I think a clone would be rough, because then clone gets out of line. How do you punish the clone?
It's like multiplicity, where it's like, I'd believe that for Kanye.
We made a copy from 2. And you know how sometimes you make a copy of a copy, it's not quite as sharp as, well, the original.
This is like the 3rd or 4th version of of the Kanye clone.
Yeah, I think most of it is just knowing that, like, some opportunities are temporary, and wanting to not let anything pass. Like, I feel like, for the most part, these are positions that you try to prepare yourself to be in, but like you can't possibly know. And then when you have the opportunity, you don't want to let it pass by. And so I think it's a lot of that hope for the best, prepare for the worst, but in a good way. Where, you know, for years I was not busy, so then you could be not busy again. And then what would life be like then? So I never wish away opportunities, and I if anything, I hope that people get to realize those things that they want to do, that sort of compound on each other or are running concurrently and everything. And you know, in an ideal world, we would all be as busy as we want to be, you know. And so it's not lost on me that it's a lot, but it's also like a lot that I feel I've been prepared for over time through all those years of not being busy. It's like you also build up a bit of a stamina, even around traveling. It's like I don't really think about, I just want to sleep in my own bed tonight. I'm like, there's a bed here. That's amazing. It used to be couches. You know what I mean? It's like that. Like that's where my head is at right now. And so yeah, maybe there's an extra night in a hotel because travel didn't go the way I wanted or anything. But as long as I make it to the show, as long as I'm able to like fulfill these responsibilities that are really like blessings, I don't think I could ever complain about, you know, the workload that comes with it.
Sure. In a couple of weeks, you're hosting the Webbies.
This is the internet's biggest night. This is like the Oscars of videos that people actually watch.
How are you feeling about that?
I feel good. I'm like, everybody is so excited that like, okay, it feels like, I don't know if you've ever double dutched before, but it almost,
I've tried.
Yeah, it feels like everybody's excited for you to double dutch, and then you're like, all right, I'm also excited, and like, well, hop in. I'm like, all right, I'm hop in.
I generally hate labels, but I'm kind of fascinated with how people answer this question, especially like, you know, comedians that do so many different things. But I'm kind of interested how you answer this question. If you could pick 2.
Yeah.
Comedian, entertainer, artist, creator, writer.
It is tough, yeah, to just pick 2. I think that, to me, I understand the ways in which it is singular, but to me, creator is, I don't mean this negatively, I mean it in a way that it compounds. Creator is like derivative of artist a bit, and I think that like writer is sort of all encompassing, and comedian is sort of singular, set aside from general entertainer, because I can't really do many other entertaining things, if I'm being honest. And so for me, it comes down to the 3 that sort of fall in are like writer, artist, and comedian. And I've always wanted to be like the best writer. Like that's the thing that I would like to hang my sort of hat on and remembered as like the best writer and, you know, wrote the most and everything. And so I think writer is like at least one of the two. And then I think that because I have intention to write as much stand-up as possible and perform as much stand-up as possible, want to write as many other things as I can, I think artist falls in there as well. So it's like most of what I write is funny, but it's not everything that I write, and so, yeah.
He ordered the lobster bisque. This man goes, "Oh, she thick."